And joining us now with more on this mishap is foreign policy expert Michael Szanto. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. President Trump actually tweeting about this not too long ago. There's been a lot of reference and a lot of indication that this might have been Russia's Skyfall cruise missile that it had been working on. But listen, just what are the implications of Russia, fresh off the heels of the U.S. Formally ending its participation in the INF Treaty, of Russia working on a missile like this, a nuclear-powered missile that can basically strike anywhere in the world?
Well, I want to not get distracted from the bigger issue that Russia has about 1,200 thermonuclear warheads, about 50 times as powerful as Hiroshima, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, 1970s technology that can hit anywhere in the United States in 30 minutes. So sometimes these more advanced weapons people get distracted by. So the military implications of this warhead, even if it was workable, are not as significant as one might imagine. Because remember, their intercontinental ballistic missiles go through a suborbit in outer space at 16,000 miles per hour, because that's above the atmosphere.
And Michael, let's talk about the civilians here. I mean, this is absolutely terrifying. Could this affect them in some way, especially with these radiation levels that could be very high at this point?
Well, it wasn't a nuclear blast. You know, nuclear weapons actually create a lot more radioisotopes than actual, fuel for a weapon or reactor. What made Chernobyl very nasty, which was not a nuclear blast either, is there was a lot of reactor fuel, just a lot of fuel, a massive amount that was blown into the atmosphere. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of radioactive material released. I mean, you don't want it on your skin. You want to stay inside in a situation like this, but this is not like a major nuclear blast. It's not a nuclear blast at all. In fact, it's like equivalent to a very tiny nuclear reactor. But it's one of the reasons why the United States has not deployed within the atmosphere, or in fact, even in outer space, active nuclear reactors for propulsion, because this is a strong reason why you wouldn't want to use such a device in the atmosphere.
Michael, you just mentioned about the fact that Russia has so many nuclear warheads, and this is, small by comparison when you're looking at the context of this particular test and mishap. But does the existence of this missile itself and the testing that's been going on here, does this just go to support what the U.S. has been saying, that Russia has been in violation? Russia was in violation first of the INF Treaty?
No, absolutely. And the INF Treaty is a very serious issue, that violation. Gorbachev and Reagan eliminated medium-range ground-based missiles from Europe because they hit the targets in 8 minutes rather than the 30 minutes they take to hit the United States. So the war in Europe would be over, and it gave the Russians and the US and the Europeans minutes to react. So they are violating it. This particular weapon is not particularly necessarily associated with that in particular. What people need to remember, Russia has a larger nuclear arsenal than us, and the biggest discrepancy is for battlefield tactical nuclear weapons used on the battlefield, and that could be as big as 4 to 10 times as large as ours, and that's not actually covered by any of the treaties we ever signed, the tactical battlefield nuclear weapons.
And Michael, I mean, Sarov is really known as one of Russia's secret cities, closed to foreigners and only accessible by special permit. I mean, what else could they have been working on there? Is there any confirmations on that at this point?
Well, and they've been working on smaller ones that they could use against their tanks or aircraft carriers. And the same technology that powers this propulsion, which is a nuclear fission reaction, could also be used in a weapon, a bomb, a warhead. So what is counterintuitive or surprising to people is their nuclear weapons technology in some ways may still be more advanced than us, especially since they're more interested in practical nuclear war applications. I must throw in a positive side to this, if there is one. The United States did explore in the 90s and since using Russian nuclear missile rocket technology if we were going to do a mission to Mars, where we would use that technology in outer space to get our astronauts faster. But that's because the Soviets were more advanced. But this does not appear to yet be a workable weapon. And it doesn't seem to in itself alter the military balance. And in terms of radioactive accidents, unfortunately, the Russians have many. So this is not even a significant environmental issue by Russian standards.
All right, Michael Szanto, we thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it very much. And